What's our top story coming out of Backlash 2024?
Tom, we don't ever bury the lead. We get right to it. And the lead is the main event. Cody Rhodes knocks off AJ Styles in a somewhat predictable finish. I thought this was a really good match. The crowd was completely unglued and out of control the entire time. We'll probably delve into that throughout the course of the show. But I thought this was a pretty good main event for Backlash. And good to see AJ put on a good performance and put Cody over. Tom, what did you think about this main event?
You alluded to it. Cody had won the belt at WrestleMania, so this is 4 weeks later. Every title holder who won the belt at WrestleMania retained today. Nobody got the 4-week title reign. WWE kicked it off of them in less than a month. So everybody who got the belt 4 weeks ago still has it after today. Cody Rhodes included. This was after 1,316 days of Roman Reigns as the WWE Undisputed Universal, however many words they put into that title belt. And those very slow, methodical Roman Reigns being that monster heel kind of match. This was a 27-minute match, which is probably on the low side of the average for a Roman Reigns title defense.
Yeah.
But it was much faster paced than a Roman Reigns title defense. It also did not involve a ref bump and 3 relatives getting involved in the finish at some point. So this was a refresh. This was like starting over for the WWE at the top of their card. Cody Rhodes is a much different kind of wrestler than Roman Reigns is. And to have AJ Styles as his first opponent, this was a fast-paced 27 minutes. It was very evenly matched. It was a great opportunity for Cody to show off a lot of what he brings to the table as a champion, as a complete worker in the ring, because he's in there with somebody that can bring him out of it. I mean, either one of these guys could have been WWE Universal Champion. They're those kind of workers. They're those kind of personalities. I was impressed by just how different this match was from the typical main events that we go through. Were there any spots or sequences that you wanted to touch on? You brought up the crowd at one point and whether or not the crowd sort of influenced what we were. Obviously, it was a big influence if you're there in person, Leo and friends. It got to us a little bit as well. What do you want to go into first here?
Well, I mean, as far as the main event's concerned, it's a really good point. We've been watching these Roman Reigns matches, and they're all the same. There's tons of schmozzes and interference. The crowd's always very into it, and it always tells a good story. But we just saw a regular wrestling match, which is kind of refreshing. I like the beginning here. There's real wrestling.
Yes.
They mentioned AJ Styles and really specifically Cody Rhodes' background in folk style wrestling. Kind of interesting. They always forget to mention oftentimes their real life backgrounds, the pro wrestlers, and that's sort of a throwback. I feel like to throwback. It's something Jim Ross always does. But JR no longer with WWE, now with AEW, so you don't hear those mentions as much. So I like the real wrestling. There was a really cool corner spot where basically AJ Styles pushes Cody off and Cody just kind of lands on his tailbone and Cody sells his lower back and his tailbone. I just like that because I haven't really seen that corner spot done like that. And it's just a wrinkle on a pretty typical transition, right? Where they're in the corner and they do something.
Yeah, not everything has to be this enormous power spot. Sometimes you can just fight out of a hold and, a guy's up on a turnbuckle, he lands flat on his back and both guys are down. Not every spot has to be one guy with a clear advantage.
Yeah.
And I think we saw a lot of that tonight and it did not think it took away from the match. There were a few moments here where both guys were down and both guys were trying to make their way to their feet and the crowd got into it. One of them was when they were on that outside of the ring and the refs giving the 10 count. And they both barely made it back into the ring for the 10 count, the beat the count.
Yeah.
And the crowd sort of got into it. Then they both kind of got to their feet. and they slugged it out. There were a couple times where they almost, like in video games style, hit the reset button, where they had both kind of been spent, and they're both tired, and they're both staggering to their feet. This was not a no-sell match where guys is like, get hit with a spot and they don't sell, they pop up when they hit theirs. Eventually, the crowd really gets into the fact that they've been wrestling for 20 minutes, and now they're both kind of, okay, it's been a tie so far. Let's have a big finish here. I mean, let's go to the finish a little bit here. Cody winds up hitting a Cody cutter, but not springing off the middle rope. He goes middle rope in the corner, hops up to the top rope, and really leaps off of it. And if you're watching it live as we were, if you wind up watching it on the replay, that's such an unusual move. I wonder if they practiced it much, because AJ at first was a little too close. So as Cody's leaping in the air, you can see AJ kind of, as he's taking the move, kick his feet back a little bit. Because it really is a different angle than taking it off the middle rope.
Yeah, you got a ton of air.
Yes, because when you're off the top rope, not only are you a couple of feet higher, but you're leaping up more than just springing off the middle rope where you're just kind of going horizontal. So this was really a fun-looking move, just the visual of Cody being way up in the air like that. AJ catches it well and then backs up so that he can take the bump correctly. It looks fantastic. Right after that, Cody hits Crossroads for the pin. It was 3:50 in the afternoon here in New Jersey, the East Coast of the U.S. The match had started at 3:23. So this was about a 3-hour premium live event.
Yeah, it was
There were
perfect.
5 matches. It didn't go too long. It didn't go too short either. And this was a good capstone for it.
Yeah, I guess my only beef would be that they advertised it with 12 p.m., 12 p.m., 12 p.m. You show up at 12 p.m. and it's a pre-show.
It was a pre-show, yeah.
But no, outside of that, I thought it was really good. And I do want to mention this because we'll be making a short video about the main event. I don't think we can leave out the crowd here.
Sure.
This is really, really unique with the crowd's energy and the way all the chants were not in English. I had no idea what they were chanting. The variety of chants, the amounts there were, and maybe even we talked about it while we're watching it. It's like they almost weren't even. It's almost like they could have been watching anything, and the crowd was kind of having the same reaction. What do you think of the crowd?
I wrote that here as well. They were hot. There were times when they were really into it. They start doing the 10 count with the ref late here because people like to count. But I wrote down in this match. Crowd chants one of its songs through a series of spots and reversals as if they're not paying attention at all. Not the first time tonight this has seemed to happen. So the crowd almost had too much energy that at times they weren't really playing off of what was being shown to them in the ring. They were just kind of as if they came in with their script.
Yeah.
And somebody cued them. The crowd, to me, it was almost like they were a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody hit or we're on YouTube, a YouTube playlist.
We'll say YouTube.
We'll
for
say
the
YouTube.
algorithm.
It was, a playlist. So somebody hit the button. It's like, okay, this song's in. Oh, next one's up. No matter what's happening in the ring, the crowd's now in their next song. So, not knowing, you mentioned that it was almost like a soccer crowd.
Yeah.
These European soccer crowds that are just crazy into things. They get an A for enthusiasm. I give them maybe a C for attention span. It did not detract much from us. I mean, if anything, it was at times amusing.
Yeah. I think it really added a lot to the entire program. But it was interesting that it could have been anything that was happening and that they weren't really reactive. Whereas you get the U.S. crowd, they're cheering and booing, but they're into what's actually happening in the ring a bit more. I don't know if there's cheaper booze in France. Maybe that's what it is. Because I know the stadiums, it's like $18 a beer. Maybe you opt to be a bit more sober. And these people, maybe it's like $3 for a little thing of wine. I don't know. €3 for a thing of wine. Who knows?
WWE mentioned this was their largest gate, which is a revenue for an arena show. So I imagine the tickets had to be pretty pricey there because they announced only about 12,000 in attendance.
Yeah.
So for 12,000 in attendance to be a bigger gate than some of their U.S. side shows that have 15, 16, 17,000, they're spending a lot of money there in France to come out to this show. So, hey, they got their money's worth, right? It's like, I paid a lot to be in this crowd. I'm going to sing all of my songs and chant all of my chants, and I'm going to make sure I have the best time I possibly can. So, kudos to them. I'm not going to, unless you're really crapping on the show, I'm not going to criticize how people choose to, enjoy themselves at a live event.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is that if the crowd's dead and not into it, then it takes away from it, and that definitely wasn't the case.
No.
You go back and watch some of the old COVID shows, and it's like horrible. So this is amazing to see how crazy the crowd was. So, Dom, anything else from the main event here that you want to talk about?